Hi everyone! Today I will be sharing the hot topic of co-teaching / team teaching. Now, you may be asking, what is co-teaching? Well, great question. Co-teaching is a collaborative teaching approach to plan, teach, and evaluate lessons for the same group of students. So when we talk about co-teaching, we are talking about two teachers being in the same classroom. So this is different than having say like an instructional assistant or something of that nature, because for the most times instructional assistants, those are going to kind of float around rooms. But co-teaching is where there are two teachers in that room the entire time, and those two teachers' sole purpose is to teach, plan, and evaluate the same group of students. Now let's talk about some importance and benefits of co-teaching. There are more individualized student attention and support. This is a really big one because now students will be able to have another resource when they have questions or they're confused about something, and it also is keeping that one teacher from constantly having to run back and forth, and you just know sometimes some questions don't get answered because there are so many questions. So this really helps having another set of eyes, another brain, another set of hands to help those students. It is easier to conduct hands-on activities, just kind of goes along with what I said previously. With another teacher, another set of hands, other eyes, it just makes it a whole lot easier to do some more extensive hands-on activities. It also encourages teachers to share valuable ideas and feedback. So these teachers, they will come together and they can share like some resources or strategies with each other that one of them might not have thought about before. And then another important benefit is teachers experience more creativity and have more energy. Probably have more energy. Yes, they do, because there are two teachers. So instead of one teacher having to do all the planning, all the teaching, all the evaluating, we've got two now that they can break those apart. And so they're both in return going to have more energy, more excitement, just to really get those students engaged, because there are two of them, so one of them wouldn't be all as tired. Now we're going to talk about the implementation in the classroom, kind of what co-teaching looks like in the classroom. There are so many different ways that co-teaching looks in the classroom, but today we're just going to be focusing on the 6 main ones that I came across when I was doing my research. So our first implementation in the classroom is one teaches, one observes. So all this means is that we are going to have one teacher who is up actively giving instruction, doing the teaching, and one of the teachers, she's just going to be in the back, or she's going to be walking around. He or she's going to be walking around, looking at the kids' work, asking questions, just observing, which is really good because this teacher that is observing while the one teacher is teaching, the other one is observing to gauge student learning. So that way, once that teacher teaches and the one gets the observations, they can then relate that information to the other teacher, just to kind of gauge how student learning is. Like what topic do we really need to focus on for the future? Our second implementation is one teaches, one assist. So if you are in the education program right now, or you're going to be in the education program, you're going to become very familiar with this, which is kind of like when we are in our practicum experience. Our CTs are the ones that teaches, and then the practicum students are pre-service teachers. Us, we're the one that assists. So this is the same in a co-teaching classroom. You have one that is up actively teaching, the other one is walking around saying like, hey, do you have any questions? Hey, like, doing good? Just going around and assisting the students. That way the teacher can keep doing instruction and doesn't have to stop every 5 seconds to answer a question. Next is parallel teaching. Parallel teaching, all it is dividing two classes, like dividing one class into 2 groups. For example, we've got a class of 30 students. One teacher gets 15, the other teacher gets 15, but they're going to be teaching the exact same content the exact same way. Our next is station teaching. This should be very familiar to you. It's just like different stations throughout the room. So like I was in my kindergarten practicum, and we did like an art station, a math station, a reading station. And so all station teaching is so one of the teachers would be at, say, the art station, the other one would be at the reading station, and so they are just teaching each of their stations, and the children are going to rotate to their station. Another one is alternative teaching, and I really like this alternative teaching because this one really focuses on that differentiated instruction. So one of your teachers is going to be with the large group, and the other teacher is going to be with that small group that needs more specialized attention. And I do really like this because that one teacher is able to kind of pull and do like an intervention, or just say like the teacher's teaching to the whole group, but I have this group of students who's really not grasping this concept, then that's where my other teacher can come in and take that small group. So I can continue with my large group, but we can really, really drill that small group to what they're just missing or something's not connecting. And then the last one is team teaching, one brain, two bodies, which all this means is that they are teaching the exact same content, the exact same time. They are one brain, two bodies teaching the same thing. Now we're going to talk about some advantages and disadvantages of doing some co-teaching. Our biggest advantages to co-teaching allows for more inclusion. So this allows for more questions to be asked. Just being able to get around the room to more kids and more questions asked gives teachers a little breathing room. And this is a big one. Like I kind of covered before, our teachers are going to have more energy. They are going to be able to get things more accomplished, and they can just sit and breathe because there are now two people that are doing what most teachers are doing all by themselves. It reduces the need for subs. We'll say that again, reduces the need for subs, because right now, especially I know in Coweta County, we are scrambling to get subs. And so co-teachers are great because, say, one co-teacher's out, then the other one can just step in, because the probability of both teachers being out on the same day is very, very unlikely. It's possible, but very, very unlikely. More supervision. Another set of eyes to look, to walk around, to know what's going on in that classroom. Also, more learning strategies. When the two co-teachers come together and collaborate, one of them may have a learning strategy the other one hasn't thought of, or vice versa. And we're just collaborating and getting all of those good ideas going just to benefit what? Student learning, because that's what we're here for, is to benefit student learning. Some disadvantages to co-teaching would be it can be costly. Very, very costly. So if the school cannot budget it, then co-teachers really aren't even a possibility, because you're funding a whole nother person, a whole nother teacher. There's a possible lack of communication between teachers. This could happen just because I hate to say this, but like just literally lack of communication. The teachers not collaborating, not getting along. That could be a huge disadvantage. That would not be good for student learning at all. Negative effects and lack of co-teacher qualifications. So say like it could be like a funding thing that we can't hire teachers with the qualifications. Well, if we hire a teacher that's not qualified, then the students could suffer because that teacher does not have the proper training. Sorry, it glitched a little bit right there. Now we're going to talk about just a few fun facts just about co-teaching. So co-teaching has been around since the 1970s. There is an increased student outcomes have been proven of co-teaching. So there are improved student outcomes from co-teaching. Co-teachers can help each other reflect on their personal teaching. This is a really big one. Like we saw before where the one teaches, one observes. When the teachers can observe each other, they are being able to pick up on things and give feedback. That way that teacher can grow as an educator. Co-teachers can provide better individualized differentiated instructions. We also saw this with alternative teaching. It's just really good on giving that differentiated instruction when you have another teacher that can really help those kids that need it more. And finally, I would just like to talk about just some ways on how to make co-teaching work. Because co-teaching could seem scary to some people, but there's a lot of factors that go into what make it work. For example, give respect. Co-teachers must give respect to each other. They're both educators, both qualified, and you need to listen to their ideas. I love it when a good plan comes together. That's all about planning. Plan. Get together, plan those lessons, and communicate what you're going to do with those students. Administration. Seek support, administrative support of maybe some ideas, some things that you can do just to, in all, benefit student learning. Communicate. You must communicate if you are co-teaching. You have got to be on the same page. If you're not on the same page, those students will suffer. Responsibility. Know your responsibilities. Know what your role is in the classroom as a co-teacher. And finally, my personal reflection after doing the research on co-teaching. After my research, I would recommend co-teaching. However, I have learned through research that most school systems do not have the funds to have co-teachers. I feel if a school system can afford to have them based on my research, co-teachers lead to better overall student engagement and learning. So I definitely feel like co-teachers are a thing that school systems should have, but I get it if school systems do not have the funds for it, but it is definitely something I do feel is beneficial based off of my research. And finally, I have some of the resources that I use to have all of my information. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope that you learned a little bit more about co-teaching /team teaching, and